In this short video, we're going to look at the ongoing play of attention in vision. I'm going to start out with a little example in which you are asked to watch a short video clip, and you'll see a coin being passed around, and your goal is to keep track of that coin. Okay, so at the end of the video, you have to know where it is. Okay, let's go. So did you see the green pepper? Maybe you did. Maybe you did. There's no guaranteeing that you didn't, but if you didn't, there was at one stage a green pepper which appeared on the table and was passed around like a cup. There are variants on this task which you may have seen. You may have seen the people passing a basketball, a white team and a blue team, and in the middle of the action, as you're trying to count the number of successful passes, someone in a gorilla suit comes in and beats their chest quite dramatically. That one is unfortunately so well known that everyone spots the gorilla now. It used to work much better. I don't know whether you spotted the pepper or not, and this would be much more fun in class. But what this kind of video is supposed to illustrate is, and please just take it for granted that for some people, the pepper will go unnoticed. When you're paying attention to one task, here you're following the coin, other things can happen entirely within your field of vision that you are completely oblivious to, that you don't see. This phenomenon is called inattentional blindness, and it's supposed to be the reason that mobile phones are banned while driving. Unfortunately, Irish legislation doesn't know its science very well, and so in Ireland, mobile phones, you're not allowed to use your hands while manipulating a mobile phone, but you're allowed to use them in hands-free mode. And that makes no sense because the demands on attention are the same whether you're using your hands or not. So this peculiar form of non-seeing, inattentional blindness, is quite common. Stupidly, it's sometimes called attentional blindness. The two terms are equivalent. They're not trying to talk about two different things. There's another form of oddly failing to see what's directly before you called change blindness, and it's slightly different. Change blindness is produced in the laboratory first and foremost, usually while looking at a picture, and you can make very large changes to the picture directly in front of someone's eyes without them necessarily noticing if that change is timed together with a discontinuity in seeing. So your optical connection to the world is interrupted every time you blink, but you don't notice that. And we can do something similar in this by having a display and making a change that coincides with a flicker or a mud splash or a cut. So I'm going to, again, this will be much more fun in class, sorry about that, but I'm going to show you two examples of change blindness. I'll leave each on the screen for 10 seconds and you just stare at the screen and see if you can spot the obvious change. Did you spot it? There it is. Behind the shoulder of the Sphinx is a large bush that's appearing and disappearing. Maybe you saw it, maybe you didn't. I wish we were in class. One more example. Maybe these aren't working for you, I don't know, but maybe they are. Anyway, this one works well in class. Once you've spotted the change, it's impossible not to see the change. These don't work for me at all anymore. And the change here is very significant. The bar behind the couple is jumping up and down from one presentation to the next, and yet when I do this in a live setting in class, at least half the class won't have spotted the change within sort of 5 to 10 seconds. So this image was used in a study where someone was asked to spot the change. And in that study, they tracked where someone was looking using a device known as an eye tracker. And you can see the pink lines here illustrate the point of the fixation of gaze of someone as they're trying to find the change in this image. And these show the first few seconds of this person's visual search. And you can see that this person is, unsurprisingly, drawn to the meaningful elements of the picture. Those would be the faces, the setting, understanding the meal, the hands. The faces are by far the most important thing. The next 10 seconds of this same subject are shown here. Now you can see the subject is repeating the search in much the same way, that is, bouncing around from one meaningful element to another, and never looks like a scan across the area of the image. Rather, it's a form of meaning-based interrogation of what's in front. And this prevents the change, which is entirely in the background, from being noticed. The role of the railing, which is moving here in this example, is merely structural. It doesn't tell you enough, doesn't tell you anything about the significance of two people sitting down having dinner and chatting. Alvin Noe is a philosopher and a visual scientist, and he has this nice comment to say about change blindness. He says, change blindness doesn't show that we fail to experience the rich array of detail that we seem to see. It shows something else, that our ability to sustain perceptual contact with the environment over time is not just a matter of there being somehow a picture of the scene in our brains. Rather, it's a matter of access, and this in turn is a matter of skill. So the subject whose gaze you followed in the last slide is exercising this skill in trying to read the picture, as it were. So seeing, as conceived here, is not a matter of image analysis by the brain. Images are not relevant to seeing in the first instance. It's a matter of exploration and engagement with the world. So inattentional blindness and change blindness reveal two ways in which we can see that the seeing is not a matter of being presented with a spatially extended tableau that can be searched at will. Seeing is a matter of engaging with the world, of making sense of the world, actively seeking out relevant features of the field in front of them. So if you hear explanations of these, inattentional blindness or change blindness, that are couched very heavily in brain words, they say your brain does this or your brain does that, be very cautious. We do not have an account of perception and brains that can account for these. They don't provide any secure insight related to brains. They provide very interesting examples to discuss as we try to understand attention, the skillful engagement that is required by any perceiving being, and that's an entirely different matter.